Whew, let's do this. So, a long-ass time ago, there was a planet called Fundament with a metric shit ton of moons. This planet was a gas giant, not exactly a fun place to live, and there's a bunch of life on it because why not? One of these life forms is a hive, who have super tiny lifespans. The group known as the Osmium Court has a king that is so old that he's going insane, and it's looking like one of his three daughters, Zyro, Sathona, and Aurash, are going to take the throne once he dies. But good old Teox goes over to a group called the Helium Drinkers and is all like, oh, come kill my king and his kids so I can take this place. And the Helium Drinkers are all like, hot bet. And then they go over and kill the dude and his kids escape. And they also took his pet worm and swore to avenge him and all the typical father just died stuff. And they also found out that all the metric shit ton of moons might line up and cause the water to go all, mass extinction-y, right? So they find this ancient ship and vibe there for a bit until going into the depths of the ocean to find some secrets to stop all this bullshit. And they find a Leviathan, not the fat Cabal one, and it's all like, oh no, the darkness is luring you down, be loyal to the giant baseball, which is also one of the moons, apparently. But you see, the sisters are based as fuck, so they just ignored the Levy boy and just kept going deeper into the water until they found a bunch of worms with stupid-ass names like Irch, Zol, and Akka. So these red-pilled worms grant the sisters immortality under the condition that they must be as based as the darkness and never abandon their natures. If they fail to do this, some other worms inside them will eat them from the inside out and not in the good way. And the catch to all this is that the worms' appetite would grow the more they actually obeyed the rules, but we'll get to that later. So now the sisters pick up their super epic villain names. Sathona became Savathun the smartass, Zyro became Zero-Arath of beating the shit out of people, and Aurash became Aurix the Navigator. She's also now a he for some reason, don't ask. So these dudes took back their epic gamer clan of Hive and Teox escaped, so they started pulling the ye old good classic genocide everything on the moons like the pro gamers they are, and eventually exterminated the Ammonites, killed the Levy boy, rip in peace, and the baseball in the sky dipped out faster than Shaxx after the helmet stayed on. Aurix also died during this, but said no, and instead went to a realm where he can recover and come back like the edgelord he is. He called it his throne world. Eventually, the other two learned this as well, which allows them to come back from death unless they die in their throne world. And they kept on killing, but, the worms, much like your fat ass, only wanted more and more, until eventually they couldn't keep up. So Xivu and Savathun are all, oh, we can't survive this, to which Aurix says, you can't survive this, and he fucking kills them both in their throne worlds. He grows stronger because of the whole worm-dealed sword logic bullshit, and then goes to meet Wormy the Worm, also known as Akka, and was all, oh, you got any secrets for me, perhaps? And the worm was all fucking stingy and told him he wouldn't give him his secret sauce. But Aurix, the king of being based as fuck, didn't want to be given them in the first place. So he killed the weeb worm and stole his anime darkness posters to wear on his belt, and then assumed his new identity quicker than a libertarian trying to avoid taxes. Oryx, the Taken King. He would simp over the darkness so that he could learn the power of taking. But you see, Oryx was a lonely-ass weeb, so he summoned back his siblings by screwing over another race, and then he went on killing more together with them. Teox kept escaping, and eventually the Dark was all, oh, hey, Oryx, come over to my place and tap this. And Oryx was hyped, thinking his simping finally paid off. But the Darkness didn't just study the logic of being based, it was basedom itself, and cucked Oryx by making him hallucinate about his dad beating him up. But Oryx simply ate him, displaying his own baseness. Then he went back about his business and went on I'm 14 years old and I think this is deep style speech about how he wants to have some kids and to love them via killing them like he does with his siblings. So he does that and has Crota, Iranuk, Irhalak, and Nokris. Nokris was not based, so Oryx banished him, and Crota was a smooth brain, so he forced him to learn from Halak and Anuk. And Crota was still smooth-brained enough to let Savathun trick him into letting the Vex and Quoria into Oryx's sword world, so Oryx yeeted Crota into a portal until he became based enough to return, and then took Quoria, giving it to Savathun. Eventually, Oryx's siblings leave to vibe on their own for a bit, and Oryx gets all philosophical again. He wonders what will cause him to die and have F's pressed in his name. And he wants to live on forever because, sword logic or something. So he writes instructions on how to turn him into a gun so he will live on through the being who killed him. Also, Savathun scribbled somewhere in here that the book is full of lies, so now we can't even, know if any of this is true. Let's go, boys! World record explanation of the Books of Sorrow. If you want a really good audiobook style version of the Books of Sorrow that actually, explains it in a comprehensible way, Meramorphic has a great video on that. I'll put the link in the description as always, along with the Patreon and such. That'll also be down there. And keep an eye out for a big project I got coming up soon. I still want to keep it a surprise, but I will give you a hint. Yours, not mine. I'll see you then, scholars. Keep studying.